Okay, you are set. Everything is going. I'm gonna mute.
Okay, great. Let me set up my YouTube here. And okay. Ah, I can't get mine going. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning Commission of the City of Danbury on June 10th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Let the record show we will begin the roll call at 7:04. Commissioner Bennett,
Here.
Commissioner Botello,
Present.
Commissioner Cabrera appears to be absent. Commissioner James,
Here.
Commissioner Jowdy is absent. Commissioner Nazario. Commissioner Nazario is present. He's looking for the button. All right. I'll put you down as Gary is. Commissioner Nejame,
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill, there she is. Commissioner Harrison is absent. Commissioner Villacrest is here. And I'm Chairman Haddad. Commissioner Villacrest, I'm going to seat you for the entire evening for Commissioner Jowdy. Okay? And commission members, just to let you know, Commissioner Jowdy is recuperating in the Danbury Hospital. If we can all keep him in our thoughts, we hear today that he's doing much better.
Sure.
I think Joanne had conversation or text messages with him today, Ms. Reed did, and so if we can all keep him in our thoughts and prayers, that'd be appreciated.
Sure.
The next regular meeting is scheduled for June 24th, 2025, and as I mentioned earlier, we don't have anything on that as of yet, unless anything gets carried over. Whoever has their flags, if they want to stand and put it forth, we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
To the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, thank you. I'm not getting the meeting on YouTube. It's not broadcasting.
Hold on, let me see what's going on, okay? Hang on.
Yeah.
I did it. Live stream. Meeting reach capacity. Remind new participants. Huh. Okay, content. Okay, let me look. Hold on.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't have any. Hang on.
Oh,
There it
okay.
is.
As long as it's not me.
There it is.
You got to
There it
set
is.
up. You got to set up.
Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Beautiful. Who said that?
Me,
Great.
Bruce.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm gonna mute again.
Okay. There we go. I got it too. Okay. Commission members, everybody received in the packet the minutes of the May 27, 2025 meeting?
Yes.
Commissioners,
Yes.
what's your
Yes.
pleasure? Anybody make a motion to accept the minutes, May 27th?
Mr. Chairman, like, whatever.
Let's give that.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of May 27th.
Motion made by Commissioner Botello to accept the minutes of May 27th, seconded by Commissioner James. Any discussion? Additions, deletions, modifications, subtractions, amendments. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed. Let me read into the record the legal notice. Yes, Ms. Reed, you're right. We have a lot of reading to do tonight. I'm
Oof.
going to read this once, and the other two times it may appear on the agenda this evening, I'm going to refer to it as the legal notice that was read in to cover all of our bases legally. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing will hold public hearings commencing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 10th, 2025, in a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom to consider following matters. Petition of Walid Al Bakri, Planning Director, to amend sections 8E10 and 10B2 and 11B4 of the zoning regulations, in parentheses, amend and revise fee schedule to consolidate all fees into one comprehensive section of the regulations. Petition of Walid Al Bakri, Planning Director, to amend the following sections of the zoning regulations. Table of Contents, Section 2B, Definitions. Section 3, District Regulations. Section 3F, Use Regulations, Special Permit Uses. Section 4C, Three-Family Residential District, R3. Section 4D, High-Rise Residential District, RH3. Section 4F6, Landscape Buffer Yards. Section 5D, Light Commercial District, CL10. Section 5F, just having a little trouble seeing. Downtown Transit Oriented Development District, DTOD. Section 5H, Additional Commercial Regulations. Section 6C2, Landscape Requirements. Section 7A3, Definitions. 7E, Main Street Historic Overlay Zone. Section 8A3, Erosion and Sedimentation Control Permits. Section 8C, Off-Street Parking and Loading. Section 8E3, Sign Regulations in Commercial Industrial Districts. Section 10C, Special Exceptions and Special Permit. Section 10D,
Madam Chair,
Site Plan Review,
get
and
up?
Section 10I3, Zone Change Criteria. Update definitions, make adjustments to existing regulations to comply with adoption of the D-TOD regulations, and add clarity and applicability to the language in the zoning regulations. Copies of these applications are on file in the town clerk's and planning and zoning offices for public inspections. Parties and interests and citizens shall have the opportunity to be heard at this time. The agenda will be posted on the city website and will include instructions on how to join the Zoom meeting or view the meeting live on YouTube. Theodore J. Haddad Jr., Chairman, posted on the city website and town clerk's office on May 27, 2025. Published in the News Times on May 30th, 2025 and June 6th, 2025. Purchase order 2025-503. Additionally, this agenda was filed in the town clerk's office on Thursday, June 5th,
Stop.
2025 at 8:09 a.m.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, stop it. My
Yes.
dog is barking. Jackie Cabarrus joined us at 7:06.
Oh, let the record show that Commissioner Cabrera is present
Stop barking.
at 7:06.
Stop barking. Here.
For the record, she was here for the reading of the legal notice, so she qualifies to sit in and vote. Okay. The first
Okay.
petition is a petition from Walid Al Bakri, Planning Director, to amend sections 8E10, 10B2, and 11B4 of the zoning regulations, amend and revise fee schedule to consolidate all fees into one comprehensive section of the regulations. Let me read the Planning Commission 83A referral, June 7, 2025, to Theodore J. Haddad Jr., Chairman, Danbury Zoning Commission, from Arnold E. Finaldi Jr., Chairman, Danbury Planning Commission, regarding this petition. At the web-based Zoom meeting held on June 4th, 2025, the City of Danbury Planning Commission voted to give the above referenced petition a positive recommendation for the following reasons. The revised fee structure aligns with the Plan of Conservation Development, POCD, goals of promoting orderly growth and improving community welfare. These amendments make Danbury's fee structure comparable to industry standards in other municipalities and also reflect the city's commitment to fiscal responsibility and stability. Mr. Sylvain made the motion to give this petition a positive recommendation. Mrs. Hofstadter seconded the motion and was passed unanimously by voice vote with 4 ayes from Mr. Chiochio, Mrs. Hofstadter, Mr. Sylvain, and Chairman Finaldi. Regarding the Westcog opinion, from Tucker, good morning. Thank you for submitting the attached referral to Westcog. The opinion of regional staff is that the proposed amendment is a pragmatic measure to improve the accessibility and efficacy of Danbury's zoning fee schedule. Let me also call on right now the director to make his presentation, go over his staff report and the petition. Director Al Bakri.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First off, I'm going to share my screen with you here.
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Can you all see it?
Yes, we have it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting on amendment to the fee schedule. Before I start, I would like to mention that there's a comprehensive effort done by a lot of city departments as we speak to modernize, update fee schedules. To give you an idea or an example, building department already started working on their fee schedule last year. Engineering are working on it now, as well as other departments. Before I start, I would like to give you a little bit of background here. So as we speak, our fee schedule did not change since 2016. There were some changes done in the last couple of years, but they were not about the fee schedule. They were more about what happened if there's an outside consultant submitting some application. So it didn't touch the content of what a fee schedule is. Also, our zoning regulations have the schedule or the fees not only for planning, but also for zoning. By zoning, I mean enforcement, as well as some sections are related to other departments. So what you will be voting on or deciding on is mainly planning, but it also has some other items from different departments. So where do we stand now? That's the actual major question. Our fee schedule, as we speak now, is what we call flat fee. What does this mean? It means that if you look here at the slide, we have, for example, 350. This is a fee for any application that qualifies as special exception, special permit, zoning amendment. It doesn't take into consideration that some are small applications that are fairly quick. Some take up to a year or so. So this is a big flaw we have. Also, for zoning amendment, we have a flat $500. It does not differentiate between text amendment and map amendment or how complex the application is. Along the same lines, and I'm having examples here, I know you don't deal with site plan application, but some of it takes a long time and it involves a lot of departments. So that's a lot of our staff time. And the fee is 350. So be it 4,000 square feet building or 1 million square feet building, there's no difference. This is a big flaw that we have as we speak. The same applies for sign application. It's also along the lines of flat fee. So what do we do when we look at our fee schedule? Number one, we benchmark what we have against other communities of similar size or comparable size to see where we stand. I sent you a whole package that includes a lot of fee schedules from different communities, but I'm going to highlight here 2 different items in 8 different communities. One is the variance. Ours is the lowest fee, it's 250 flat. You can see. The one that is actually higher than us would be Stanford. It's between 350 and 850 based on the application. It's not a flat fee. In terms of zoning amendment, which you look at a lot, ours is a flat 500. We are by far I don't want to say the most affordable. It's the cheapest to the point that it doesn't actually cover for the staff time. Those are just 2 examples. In your packet, you will have way more examples. Also, when we look at the fee schedule and we would like to compare how much revenue a department is collected versus the expenses, we looked at this internally to give you an idea. Last year, or this financial year, 2024-25, planning revenues were 256,000. Next year, it's projected to be 260. The expenses just for planning for 24-25 is 500,020. Projected one for 25-26 is 528. What does this mean? We have almost a deficit between this year and upcoming year annually of about 200,000. However, this is not the way to do it. Why? I will tell you why. Because when we have an application, that includes not just planning, It has planning, permitting, engineering, consultant, fire marshal, corporation counsel. All of this is time included in reviewing any application. You don't see this. This is the behind the scenes stuff. So if we calculate this, we will have lost this year a deficit of about 1.5 millions, projected to be almost about 1.5 millions. We are not looking at breaking even, just let me make it clear. We're looking at how to make it more of an incremental change. We focus on still being competitive and having an edge over our other communities. But of course, we understand we have some challenges that we are working on. So what are we trying to do now? First, we are trying to adopt a tier system. What does this mean? Within the same application, say a site plan or zoning permit, you will have a base fee and you will have an additional fee based on how big the cost of the project is. You will see the first two items here, which is 0 to 2,500 and 2,501 to 5,000 is almost the same as it is, meaning we are very careful not to increase the cost for the small projects. We are trying to keep it the same for smaller projects. For bigger project, we have an increment addition that is calculated so that at the end of the day, the total cost will not be huge, but it will be more related to the work being done by the city or staff. I'll give you another example here. Instead of what we have, and I'm going to go back here to the slide, for special exception, special permit, zoning, and all of that stuff, it was 350 per application. It's flat. What we're trying to do here is we are increasing the fee a little bit for a special exception to be 500. If you have multiple special exceptions at the same time, it will be 750. And one thing that I want to stop at or pay more attention to is zoning amendment. You might look at this, which is a zoning map amendment, to be a big jump. It's not. What most people don't know that for zoning amendment for text, map, it's done by a consultant and they charge 1,000 for each change. We are not making money. We're just trying to pay for the consultant, which is fair here because applications should pay for themselves. They should not be covered by or subsidized by the city. Along the same line, I'm going to try to make this, I understand it's small. I'm going to maximize it here. Also for site plans, we are trying to have a base fee if it's residential and add on $50 for each unit. Meaning, so if you have 10 units, you will pay for the 200 plus 10 multiplied by 50. That will be 500. So total will be 700. So we are trying to make the fees related to how big the project is. For non-residential site plan, we are having a tier system based on the square footage of the building or the square footage of the land disturbance. So it's not flat. It can change based on the magnitude of the application or the project. One thing that I would like to mention, we are keeping the legal advertisement fee for now. It used to be 400 for public hearing plus 100 for a notice of decision. We are proposing increasing it to be 500 for public hearing and notice of decision would be still as it is 100. And the reason why we are still keeping it, there are discussion now in Hartford that maybe by the end of the year, there will be no need for advertisement in the newspaper. But as we speak, we still have a requirement to do the advertisement. That's why we are keeping it. One other change that we are doing is something called zoning letter. This one used to be a flat 100. When we had the internal discussions, it turned out to be one of the most time-consuming applications for staff. Some of it might take 4 days, some of it takes a whole week, because you have to dig into all the history of a site, all the paper copies, all the maps. So it's very time-consuming. That's why we're increasing the fee to be in line with other communities. One thing that we are adding, we never had before, and this after a lot of discussions between Corporation Council and Planning and Zoning, is as we speak now in our fee schedule, if you do a lot of violations and you come back, you come to actually apply for amending it, it's the same as somebody who never had any violation on their property. So what we're doing now is if anybody is caught with a violation and they come to submit an application to deal with the situation, it will be twice the cost of anybody who didn't have a violation on the site. In other words, our system did not help much in encouraging people to not to actually go the route of violations because there is no penalty. Now we are hoping that with the new system, that will be more of an enticement for people or applicant to come to us for first before they actually do anything, so to minimize the number of violations that the city is facing. So as recommended by the Planning Commission, the application was endorsed by all the planning commissioners because it's in line with the policies of the POCD, and it's a great step to ensure the financial stability of the planning department, and that application pay for most of the effort that is put into them. So it's a big commitment for the city to be financially responsible, and that's what the application will achieve. With that, I come to the end of this very quick presentation. But before I end it, I would like to mention that there's a typo under section E of the application you have. And I'll give you a minute or so to look at it. And thank you for Commissioner Jennifer. She brought it to my attention. It should say 10%, not 5%.
Excellent. Good pickup, Commissioner.
Thanks, Jennifer.
O'Neill.
With that, I come to the end of this quick presentation. I'm happy to answer any question.
Thank you. Let me wait for you to take down that screen share.
Yeah, give me a minute here.
Yeah, take your time.
My computer is slow, as I mentioned to you.
That's all right. Thank you for that. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Commission members. Oh, I see Commissioner Bennett. Did you have your hand up, Commissioner Bennett? Unmute, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to mute myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Commissioner Bennett, you're
we go.
unmuted, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Okay. This is an interesting subject for me because I built some buildings and I always wondered, well, first let me say this. Now I know why we don't get paid. There's no money in the deal.
We still wouldn't.
These fees are ridiculously too low.
Yeah.
The first building I built in Wilton was $5 million, and my fees to the town of Wilton were like $1,000. The attorney fees were $300,000. These numbers are out of whack.
Huh?
These numbers are like from the 40. They should be 3 times this. This is I never saw these numbers. It's the first time. We should be par with our competition, which are the cities around us. I probably wouldn't do too much for the residential, but for commercial, it's costing this city so much money to hold one of these hearings and get the wetlands involved and to get the permits involved. I'm all for the increase, and I think the increase that you have proposed are not enough.
Thank you. Director, did you want to just comment, or are you good?
You know what? I appreciate the comment, and I know, what you see now, it's not a secret. It's version number 5 of what I have been proposing. As you might appreciate, a lot of departments are included, including finance, different departments. And yes, I totally agree with you. It's not enough. We just do not want to send the wrong message at this stage. We want to just carefully work at increasing it annually. That's the goal. Any fee schedule, by the way, and this is something I mentioned during the internal discussion with different departments and the mayor's office. A lot of communities have it so that it's updated automatically at the beginning of each year. So that you don't have to discuss it, like say each year, January, it will be 10% more than the year before. We are
Totally
not,
agree.
yes, but we don't want to do it because this is the first time in 10 years. So it's
I agree
better
with that.
to, yep, it's better to send the message first. Hey, we are looking at it, but annually we look at it one by one.
Okay.
Especially when you're comparing it to other communities, which was very helpful in the presentation.
Would a builder leave Danbury's lot and the property that they bought to go to Reading to save $200 in permit fees? I doubt it. I think if you ask builders ask Bob, what would do you even look at the fees when you're building a building or building an apartment building? Or I don't think it's an issue.
We'll get to that when he gets to my hand.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Because I have some questions. He's not
Go
getting
for it.
off this easy.
Bob is gonna take it easy on me tonight, sir.
I want to be more direct because we have
All right,
some
hold-
questions. We got some things we have to talk about.
Commissioner Bennett, are you good for now, Commissioner Bennett?
Yes, I am.
All right, let me turn it over to Commissioner Botello.
Yeah, thank you for the floor, Commissioner. And
Yep,
my
absolutely.
first question is that okay? We're looking at one side of this, and I understand that we're looking at the fees, but the fees, when you really look at it, are a cost of doing business. But just as important is what do these fees add to our grand list? And that's some number that I would like to, we don't need it for tonight, but I want to see it down the road. And all right, it's going to cost us $1,500,000, but what potentially will this do to our grand list? Because that's what we're doing this for. We are working together. We're supposed to be enticing builders, developers to come in, but the whole idea is to build the grand list. But that doesn't get reflective in what this spreadsheet tells us. It talks about expenses, but not income. So that is something that I think that we should know if we are making decisions, and definitely you would want to know as a planning director. That's number one. Number two is that I looked through all of the fee analysis. My questions is it under our auspices that we have a say or to be able to view what the connection fees are? Because guys like me, that's the biggest problem we have with the city right now, is that the connection fees are out of line. They hurt us and they deter development. The other thing that deters development is that the water department gets a hold of us so that they give us these absorbent connection fees. That's number one. And we have to pay for it. You're paying for the right to get the connection. Then we have to pay the contractor to make the connection. And then we have to pay absorbent fees because if it's commercial, if it's over 4 units, we go into commercial pricing for the water and sewer, which is about 40 or 50% more than residential. So it decentivizes the guys that have to come out with the more units, and we get penalized. And I just want to see if that is part of what we're looking at, and if it's part of the fee schedule. But I don't see anything in there about connection fees or what's going on with the water and what it should be for the future for these developments and developers. I don't want to be a bad sore apple, but this is what guys like me look at. We look at the whole situation, the whole scenario, and part of it is missing.
Director, did you want to comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lots to unpack. So I will start from the last one about the connection fee. I totally get it from a builder's point of view, and I'm not just trying to deflect the question. I will say the way it is. Connections fees are under engineering. It have nothing to do with zoning regulation or what we do in planning. I understand you have a lot of points about why it's too expensive, why if you want to build more units in your own language, it's more like a disincentive because you will pay more. You will be commercial if you have 5 units or more. It's a discussion can facilitate between anyone who would like to have it and the engineering department. But as far as I know, it's under the domain of City Council. And that's why engineering, when I mentioned before, building is actually working on updating their schedule, and they are in the final phases, which will be voted on during the next council meeting. Engineering will do the same, but they are a little bit behind. So maybe in August or September, council will look at the connection fees. But in terms of planning, submitting all the documents to the zoning commission, it's outside of my domain. Once it's done, I can share it with you because it will be voted on, but I'm not actually involved in the discussion.
But I think that you being the planning director, you should be, and because at the end of the day, your job, I would believe, and platform is that you want to entice builders to come to this area.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, you're going to get looked at as whether what you did to the grand list, what you did to improve building, and if you have people behind the scenes that are hurting the situation, I think that you should be empowered, that you should be part of the conversation.
I would love to entice as many good development in the town as possible. It's part of my job, and I will continue to do it. And I get a lot of help from economic development. We will hopefully be at the table during the discussion for the fee schedule, but just to make it clear, the final say will be council.
So maybe one of us, am I allowed to, as a builder or part of the commission, to be able to address the council or to be in on many of these meetings?
Absolutely, they're all
Well,
public meetings.
1 second, Director. I would ask Commissioner Botello to first speak to Corporation Council because I believe in the statute, Connecticut General Statutes, it prohibits elected zoning commission members from speaking at other public hearings in the city. Now, I don't know if I would think that you have the right to speak on your own behalf, on your own personal interests. Okay, but just double check with.
Well, I'm speaking on behalf of many interests of the people that want to come into the city and look at it and say, "Wow."
Yeah, see, I don't know.
these-
I don't know if Connecticut General Statutes allows that. If you went up there and said, "Look, I'm a builder and I'm speaking because this is what it costs me, and I'd like you people to spend some time thinking about it and here are the pros and the cons from my position," I don't think anybody can stop you from having that conversation.
Right.
But
Right.
if you were to go as a zoning commission member to the common council saying, "We have this petition before us, and I thought about this and that," I think you just have to check with Corporation Council first.
Right. I could see Waleed's intentions is to make this as palatable as possible, and other departments should be doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just want you to if that's what
Okay,
you want to
so-
do. I'm not telling you whether you should or you should. I'm just saying, simple phone call, double check whenever it gets to that level.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I thank you, Waleed, for all that you've done and the fact that you're making this part of it very satiable, and that's important. So you're doing your part. So thank you.
I see Commissioner O'Neill's hands up, but Commissioner James, did you have your hand up earlier too? Were you up before her?
I did, and I just had a small question, and I don't
Okay.
even know if it's
You were
important,
first.
but,
Go ahead. Yeah.
in the permit schedule, there was a flat fee plus another fee per $1,000. And all of them have $4 per $1,000, but there's two that only have $2 per $1,000. And I wasn't sure why there was a discrepancy for those size developments.
Thank you, Director. Director, unmute, please.
Thank you for the question. If you look at it carefully, what we were doing when we were discussing it, if you, for example, take any application, you will see that the percentage at the end of the day, if you follow the same logic submitted, would be the same.
Okay, so it was just a small reduction in the per $1,000, but
Right.
the amount was the same. I just wasn't sure why they were all four and there was just two that were $2. So
You can tell it took a long time to actually work on the model to make it fair and similar so that nobody will say, "Hey, I'm being punished," which is basically what we are trying to avoid.
I was just checking to make sure. So thank you very much for the clarification.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Neill, where'd you go? I just lost you. There you go. Commissioner O'Neill. Oh, we can't hear you. Commissioner O'Neill, we can't hear you. And you're unmuted, but we still can't hear you.
Is that any better?
Yeah, we got you
Yeah.
now. Thank you.
Okay. I was just going to tell Commissioner Botello, like sometimes for appraisals, like you can consult or you can do an appraisal, you have to wear a different hat. So when you talk to the Corporation Council, like I wouldn't just accept like, no, you're a commissioner, you can't speak. Probably you can, but you probably have to clearly define that you are a commissioner, but you're speaking in your capacity as, you know, a builder or a citizen or whatever. That's all I just wanted to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Botello, unmute.
Yes, and thank you for that advice. I will seriously, it basically, I don't want this to feel like it's just me. It's just that we had a roundtable about a month and a half ago. And Waleed will tell you that there was we had builders in the area, but everyone was having the same issues. And so it's not just me by myself, but because I love this city, and I want to see us grow. I want us to work together so that we can entice. But the initial fees are nothing compared to being able to get a development and looking down the road as to what it's going to do to the grand list. 1.5 million is nothing if we can build 200 or 300 units. You have to look down the road and not look at the initial cost.
Thank you. Director, any comments on that or no? Go on.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to deviate from this topic, but just to emphasize what Commissioner Bob was talking about, our goal, and again, this is not a secret, is to actually get as many good development as possible in the city. And to give you an example about what he was talking about, incentives, when we did the TOD, there used to be, and he would know this, kind of deduction for hookups in downtown. And because we have no longer the old downtown, we were about to take this incentive out. The decision was made that even though we have a totally new downtown, we still kept the incentives for having 50% for the fee of hookups in downtown. That gives you an idea how committed we are, as much as possible, to give incentives if we can financially afford it. But what we're talking about here in planning is, as you could see, we have a huge deficit. We are not even looking at be close to be even. We are just trying to make what I would call incremental change. So annually, we will add a little bit more until we come to the point where we are not losing that much money.
Right.
That's all what we are trying to achieve. And it's a big initiative that has the backing, I would say, of all the elected officials we have and mayor's office. And I have been helping out. If you can tell, I not only did planning do the planning related fees, but we also included the research for zoning enforcement and other departments as well, because we know it's a must do. We cannot wait any longer.
Well done.
Thank you. Just as a side note, commission members, one of my little pet peeves, one of my little babies happened to be touched on tonight by the director. And I think it goes back, I first got involved maybe 6 years ago. I'm not sure, but we had a roundtable with the chairman of Planning and Zoning Commission statewide. And one of my biggest issues or my concerns was the costs of applications as it related to getting somebody to pay $500 for the legal notice in the newspapers when newspapers are dying. So if I was to go in and want to put an addition on my house tomorrow or go to the zoning board of appeals, or I'd have to spend $500 for advertising in a newspaper, Danbury News Times. I think the Connecticut General Statute says in the news publication with the largest circulation closest to your municipality, which would be the News Times, that nobody reads. And it's like $500 really, it's going to go in there and nobody knows about it. It's like with social media and everything else. So it's been up in Hartford now for, I think, either almost a year or just over a year to try and change that so that could be eliminated, to try and soften the blow. The $500 to a developer on a big project is no big deal, but for the homeowner that's got to build a deck or something. So I saw that. I'm glad that the director talked about that tonight. So that's a little bit of a help in the overall cost of a application fee. I hope can be ironed out soon up in Hartford. Commissioner Bennett, did you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Anyone else have any comments to the director or on any of the other commission members at this time? Anything else from any commission members? Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to this petition?
Chairman?
Councilman Rotello, yes.
Oh, boy.
Somebody just said, oh boy. I agree. Somebody also said lots to unpack. For the record, Paul Rotello, 13 Linden Place, Danbury. I'm using the ThinkPad. Can you guys hear me? Because sometimes you
Yeah,
can't.
stay kind of close to it if you could, Councilman.
Yeah, okay. How's this? Any better?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Kind of reminds me of the stories of the guys that work at the parking lot of the big movie theaters, and they're complaining to the board that maintaining the parking lots is costing them a fortune, and they want to charge everybody going to the movies $50. And the board says, gee, if you charge everybody $50 to go to the movies, nobody's going to go to the movies. I mean, the whole point of the parking lot is to get people to come to the movies. That's where we make our money in the popcorn. The planning department in these fees is a doorway to bringing in development. Commissioner Bennett mentioned a $5 million project he was involved in. If we do the math in Danbury, we do 70% assessments, and our mill rate's at about a quarter. And if we look at those numbers, once that development was built in Danbury, that development would be paying over $1,700 a week in taxes. A week. I think the very first week, the department would make its money back. This is why we're doing it. We're not doing it to fund the department. We are doing it to fund the programs that the people of Danbury need. And I'm not even willing to stipulate that the department is a loss leader. It is part of doing business. I happen to rent apartments, and I could charge $1,000 for an application, but nobody would apply, and then nobody would rent. So at some point, we have to fold these costs into the revenue stream that we expect to get out of this. And the issue is not necessarily with residential development. We have a lot of that. And I appreciate staff for trying to keep those numbers down. The issue in Danbury, and it's going to become critical in the next maybe 72 hours, is attracting commercial development to Danbury. And this is a very, very hard thing to do. And it's not just Danbury, it's every place. Although we can expect other towns like Reading and areas like that to not be particularly concerned, but we do have some competition. And we need to get these people here. 5002, which you guys are going to maybe talk about, the HB 5002, you may be talking about later on this evening. I will probably be talking about it later on this evening in the sense that these new definitions that are coming up later on tonight may be superseded by 5002 and may have to be redone. I would question why we're doing this now when we don't even know what's going to happen. But back to this particular issue, I certainly understand that we should look at our fees on a regular basis, but I could not justify a fee restructuring based on what other towns are doing. It's not about what other towns are doing. It's about what Danbury needs. And Danbury has a gross shortage of responsible commercial development. Almost all of the pressure on development in Danbury is actually taking what little commercial areas that we have, and this is now coming from Hartford, it's going to get 10 times worse, taking whatever commercial property that we have and converting that to residential. It is becoming, if it was difficult to attract commercial development to Danbury up until now, it's going to be next to impossible. Case in point, on Sawmill Road, we'll be in front of you guys shortly to convert IL-40 property to residential. They don't want to build IL-40. Any farther west, it would be in New York State. It's the last slice of the Farrington property. They want to put 200 or 300 residential units on that parcel. I don't know how many millions of dollars that project will be. But as we know, what happens with residential property versus industrial versus commercial is people wind up living there, obviously, it's the whole point. And they wind up sending kids to school, and our schools are already overburdened. And the taxes that these developments pay do not in any way, shape, or form fully underwrite the cost of sending those kids to school. I happen to think having young people in Danbury is a good thing, but they have to be paid for by something. And if the structures that they live in aren't paying for that, it has to be paid for by somebody else. That could be another residential homeowner. It could be a gas station or a movie theater. It could be a bank, but it has to be something. And for my money, literally, what I would prefer is a commercial and industrial development to help offset those costs. So when we talk about let's raise fees, let's make some more money, let's pull in some more fund, I have to ask myself, as Commissioner Botello is asking right now, what's the goal here? Is the goal just to take the bottom line? So when we meet next year to do the budget in G1 or G2, and I'm sorry, I can't remember which one the planning department is under, either G1 or G2, to make those numbers look healthier for planning, or is the ultimate goal to bring in more responsible development? I'm on the city council. Commissioner Botello, I just wanted to do an aside here. We met last night about connection fees in an ad hoc, and that will be in front of the council at the next meeting. And as far as I'm concerned, you're more than welcome to speak to us at 7:30 during public speaking. You just kind of talk to the council tonight because I heard you. I would have no problem with you speaking. I would actually like to hear what you have to say on this, and bring your pals, because I think we need to hear this. But again, the ultimate goal here is to grow that grand list responsibly, try to get as much of the percentage of that grand list away from mom and pop homeowners, and put it onto organizations that can defray some of those costs to their customers, many of which who come from out of town. I mean, it's easy to say that we're going to, soak the citizens of Danbury, but the way that Danbury works, because we are an island of development in a sea of anti-development, is that people basically come to Danbury to shop. And a little tiny slice of a penny from every pair of socks that they buy going to our bottom line is a healthy thing. It's good for the community. Our neighbors don't want development. We do. But it's getting harder and harder to attract development. So Commissioner Botello, I have to say that you are on point when you said, what's the end game here? Is it to get more development? Is this going to help us get more development? Is it going to make us more competitive? Is it going to make it easier, especially in light of HB 5002, where the developers will have an as of right to convert any commercial property in this community that they want, any at all, at any time, to residential, with no questions asked, no public hearing? How is that going to affect bringing developers into Danbury and getting them to build commercial developments instead of residential? That's the question that we should be asking ourselves. And it's not just here on the zoning commission. It's also the city council. It's also the state of Connecticut. It's happening all over the place. And I think as public officials, I think are responsible to our constituents is not just telling them that, the airport pays for itself, or the planning department pays for itself, or it makes a couple of bucks. I think our responsibility is we have this device, the structure that we call planning, and we use that to bring in business, and we use that to reduce, by as much as possible, the friction that is normally entailed in these projects, to make us more competitive than the guys next door that are trying to steal our business. That, to me, is what this is all about. And when I tell them that only 60 cents of their dollar is going to the tax pie, 60% of that is coming from homeowners, but the other 40% is coming from non-residential, they kind of smile a bit. Yeah, the school board budget is 150 million, but you're only paying 80. I'd like that to be 50-50, or maybe even a little bit more on the commercial side, so I can actually say to my constituents, most of the money that you're paying in taxes is not coming from your house. It's not coming from your garage. It's not coming from your car. That's, I think, what we should be looking at. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Commission members, anything of Councilman Rotello? Commission members. Commissioner Rotello.
Yes, I'd like to speak to it on behalf of the conversation. Councilman Rotello, I like the points you brought out. But my thoughts here are is that now that you did, I think that maybe you can go back to your side of it and see what you can do with the council, because I believe and I see what Waleed has done, and what he's done is very good. And yes, like Bruce has mentioned, that we do have costs that's that's irrevocable. It's something we have to live with. And the fact is that he's not making these grossly big increases in the cost. So we can live with that. But the other side of it is to make sure that the engineering department and common council are going to do their part of it to help. So when you go back, I hope you're going to be a disciple of what we talked about and say, wait a minute, we need to work on this, and this is an issue. And if you want me to come before the council, I'd love to, as long as I have the permission to do that. But it's only because I want us to be very successful and to bring the people that are really good to the city to want to do these bigger developments, especially in the TOD district, more so than anything in exit 1 or 2. I agree with you about 1 and 2. Exits 1 and 2 have definitely their share of housing, but once again, we need to bring in people of the TOD zone.
Commissioner Botello, you could be very useful next week in that. So just try to give Corporation Council a call, and if you got it in your schedule, show up and
I will.
show up and speak, because you could give a different dimension. Councilman Rotello, when I had mentioned earlier before about the comparison to the other communities, I wasn't trying to keep up with the Joneses. I wanted to make sure that we remained competitive, and I thought it would be useful just to see what other people are doing out there. We've always been a leader and not a follower, and I wasn't saying that we should be following their lead. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to price ourselves out. So that's what I meant by other communities, what they were doing and comparing it that way. Director, did you have your hand up a second ago? Director?
Yeah, just a very quick comment. I appreciate all the comments from the councilman here. And one thing to mention is part of being competitive is to always keep evolving. And to be honest with you, to be competitive, you need to have very responsive staff. In planning, at some point, we need to add more staff. We need, as you know, we're utilizing new technologies we never had before. We are digitizing everything we had since the 50s. All our applications are going to be online. So in order to be responsive and to be competitive, you need to know what's happening elsewhere. And you need to utilize it and show that you can do it better than anywhere else. This is what we need. The minor increases that we are talking about is not about making the department looks good on paper. It's about utilizing the increase to make significant changes that everybody can see. And when we go, and actually this happens, and some of the zoning commissioners might know this, we aggressively are talking to a lot of companies and developers inside and outside of the city. What they ask us is how modern they are, how quick it is to do business here. They usually don't ask about the small fees, I would call. This is not what will make or break a deal. What will make or break any deal is how efficient, how quick you guys are. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Commission members, I'm going to turn it over to the director if he has any other final comments, and I'd be looking for any questions or comments from any commission members at this time. Director, did you want to conclude with any comments?
Mr. Chairman, so I don't have much to say unless anybody had any questions, but what I'm saying is what we are doing tonight is a step in the right direction. And I get it, every community is different and every community should be unique in order to be successful. We have not been looking at our fee schedule for a long time, and maybe that was good, but now to distinguish the city, we need to basically catch up with a lot of things we are behind on. One of it is the fee schedule.
Commissioner Bennett.
My second thought to this is the time it takes to get a permit through planning and zoning in Danbury. This is reputation. This is what I've heard on the street takes too long. I've never heard, as Waleed said, about the fees blocking a $500 fee. I've never even heard that come up. What I have heard is, remember, every time you come back as a businessman, as a developer, to one of these meetings, you're going to bring an attorney that's going to cost you a lot more than $500. So the reputation that we had in Danbury is that we were too slow. And that goes back for years. So whatever we need to do to make that process faster and more competitive in time, the better off we're going to be. I don't think the fees are going to make a difference. But I'm not a builder. I don't see that side of it. I'm the businessman who pays it. So, but I think what we need to do is, like Wally just said, what the builder wants to know is how fast we're going to get this thing through. It can't go through 2 or 3 times because there's your attorney's fees, and that's the extra money. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Director.
So, Mr. Chairman, I totally acknowledge the comment about sometimes things take more time than it should. And I would hope that any one of you who has connections to the developers, I mean, being local or not, if they can talk to them and see what their perception is. I believe it improved. Is it ideal? No, but I believe there have been a lot of improvements in the last 6 months or so.
Good.
That's good to hear. Commission members, anything else? Commission members, anything else? If anybody wants to, we're not waiting on any exhibits. We've got everything in. I don't think there's any reason to continue this any further. If anybody wants to make a motion to close this public hearing, I would entertain that. Anyone? Is there a motion? I see, Director, did you have anything else to comment on? Okay, your hand is up. Okay, Commissioner Botello makes a motion.
Yes, I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Commission members, there's a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bennett. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Closed. This public hearing is closed. Thank you. Let's see. We have another petition this evening. I mean, Commissioner Botello.
Yes, I'd like to see if we could move this application to the business that can be acted on tonight.
Old business.
Yes, or is it old business?
For discussion of possible action.
Yes.
Motion made by Commissioner Botello to move this petition of Waleed Al-Bakri, Planning Director, to number 1 under old business for discussion of possible action. Is there a second? Is there a second? Second by Commissioner James. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Not hearing or seeing any objection, this will be moved unanimously over to old business for discussion of possible action. Okay. The second petition this evening is a petition from Waleed Al-Bakri, Planning Director. And we're going to call this, we'll refer to this as housekeeping. And for the record, we will also refer this to the petition that was read under the legal notice. It's lengthy, but it was read into the record and was submitted and was made public. Let me move this over to here. This goes over here. And I will read the Planning Commission recommendation on this petition. Same petition of Waleed Al-Bakri, Planning Director, to amend the following sections of zoning regulations as it relates to table of contents, etc., as previously read into the record. On June 7, 2025, at the web-based Zoom meeting held on June 4th, 2025, the City of Danbury Planning Commission voted to give the above referenced petition a positive recommendation for the following reasons. The proposed zoning amendments are strategically aligned with the objectives outlined in the Plan of Conservation and Development, reinforcing the City of Danbury's commitment to sustainable urban growth, economic adaptability, and proactive planning. By implementing these changes, the City of Danbury will strengthen its zoning framework, support responsible urban development, and enhance regulatory clarity. Mrs. Hofstadter made the motion to give this petition a positive recommendation. Mr. Chioccio seconded the motion, and it was passed unanimously by voice vote with 4 ayes for Mr. Chioccio, Mrs. Hofstadter, Mr. Salvain, and Chairman Finaldi. Regarding the 8.3b referral, housekeeping, and clarification amendments. Good morning. This is from Tucker again at Westcog. Thank you for submitting the attached referral for Westcog review. The opinion of regional staff is that the proposed revision is primarily of local interest with minimal intermunicipal impact. Staff provides no comment. Let me call on now the director, if you would. We're starting to screen share. If you would go over the petition and your staff report, I'd appreciate it. Director, unmute, please.
Sorry for that. Good
There you
evening.
go. You're good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but I forgot to mention that I am requesting that when the commission votes on this application, meaning the housekeeping and the fee schedule, that they vote on it to be effective immediately. I
Thank you.
forgot to mention it at the beginning, so it might be a good time to mention it now.
That's fine. I had these in my notes. And again, I'll reiterate to the commission members, generally, when we see petitions like this coming in from staff, we generally look to have these effective immediately rather than the other effective date that we voted on and put into our bylaws and our charter as the day after the date of publication. So yes, thank you, Director.
Awesome. Okay, great. So the application we have here is what we call omnibus zoning amendment. By omnibus, I mean comprehensive. When you have an application that includes so many different items, some of it might not be related to each other. We call it omnibus, and it's usually, I believe I mentioned it to the commission at some point, that planning will be looking like once or twice a year to propose changes to make sure that our zoning regulations are relevant, they don't have mistakes, or if there's any evolution needed based on new law changes, that we will do it instead of waiting a year or so. We would like to be more active and have everything up to date within 1 year. Having said that, I want to start by mentioning that the title of our POCD, which is Plan of Conservation and Development, is Innovate. So that's the guiding principle that planning follows whenever we are looking at any application or any project. How to be innovative, how to be ahead of the game. So having said that, I will just go very quickly over the outline of the changes, the proposed changes. I know when you are reading them, they look to be a lot. However, when you follow what I'm going to explain, you will find out it's not that much as they appear. So what are we trying to do? What we are trying to do can be broken down into 4 different categories. Number 1 will be adjusting some existing definition in our zoning regulations and also introducing new definitions. And I will explain later on why. We need to actually undertake some changes because after adopting the DTOD, some of the sections in the zoning regulations are not relevant anymore because they were very specific to the old downtown zoning and the old overlay district. One thing that is important is we also are clarifying the application of some regulations. But what does this mean? Zoning regulations are what is called bylaw, meaning that they are very specific to a community. They are not to extend outside. We need to add language in our zoning regulation to say that specifically, that whatever we are talking about is only applicable in the city of Danbury. And I'm sure you would know or you expect why we are doing it. We have some challenges lately based on some application, and some of the lawyers were saying, hey, your regulation doesn't say specifically that it's applicable only in Danbury, and it could be applicable outside of Danbury. We could have gone to court for it, but there's no need. The advice from Corporation Counsel was make a change to emphasize that regulations are only applicable in the city of Danbury. And also we are correcting some oversights we had in our zoning regulations. So having said that, I will go over the next slides, each of the 4 categories, and explain what each includes. Speaking of adjustment to some existing definitions, we are adjusting the definition for apartment house, cafe, crematory, hotel, motel, restaurant, structure, and tavern. I want to spend some time here. What we are doing for apartment house, there was a mistake that it says it can only be 4 stories or more. However, if it's 2 stories or more, it qualifies also as apartment house. So what we are doing is changing the height from minimum 4 stories to minimum 2 stories. Cafe, we had to make changes because some of the zoning districts do not exist anymore. I'm talking about downtown, the old downtown. Crematory, we have a definition, but it only talks about incineration. The new law changes in Connecticut allows, and I know that might be strange to some folk, allowed cremation using water, which is called alkaline hydrolysis or other chemicals. So we are updating the definition to make sure that it captures incineration and water cremation as well. Hotel, motel, we are only making sure that in the definition that it does not include shelter or adult daycare. That's what we are adding to the existing definition. Restaurant, structure, and tavern. For restaurant, we are deleting any reference to the old zoning districts that don't exist anymore. The same for tavern. We are having an updated definition for structure because structure is very important because the setbacks in each zoning are based on the structure. So we're making sure to mention what is not a structure because sometimes you might have a retaining wall. You don't have to have the setbacks. So I'm making sure that the retaining wall is not a structure. What about the new definitions? Speaking of retaining wall, we never had a definition for what it is. And we had a challenge recently saying, hey, retaining wall is a structure, meaning you have to have the setbacks, even though over the 50 or so years, we never actually asked for setbacks for a retaining wall. So in order to say that the retaining wall does not need setbacks, we had to define it first. So that's what we did. Site plan, as you know, site plan is a big component of the zoning regulations. We never had an actual definition. So we're having a definition in our zoning regulation to make sure that if there's any application, the applicant will know what a site plan is. We come here to the fun one, smoke shop. I'm sure a lot of you heard lately a lot about smoke shops. So let me give you a little bit of background. If anybody came with an application for a smoke shop, until today, we will treat it as a business. We didn't have any definition for a smoke shop. So anybody submit an application, it doesn't matter. It's a business. So that's why we don't know exactly how many smoke shops we have, because it was just a business. Was that an issue? Not really, until recently. So we got to know from the police department and from the state that there are a lot of illegal stuff happening in some of them. I don't want to generalize. So now we had to find a solution how to first stop accepting new applications. We had 2 options. One is to have a moratorium, which would be difficult because we don't even have a definition for a smoke shop. Or we can have a definition and then you have the definition, but it's not permitted anywhere in the city, meaning in essence, it's a moratorium. So that's what we landed on now. So we have a definition. It's not permitted anywhere in the city if it's adopted by the zoning commission. And meanwhile, we will have a lot of discussion between different departments, most importantly, the police department, about what to do in the future. We don't have to do much in the near future. It might take a year, it might take more until we are in a position to come back potentially with another zoning amendment to allow smoke shop in certain zoning districts under very, very clear guidelines and conditions. But for now, if you adopt the new changes, it means in essence that nobody can apply for a smoke shop. However, existing smoke shop, again, we never treated it as smoke shop. Existing businesses that function as a smoke shop can continue to function. it will be legally non-conforming, but they still can function as they are now. What else are we trying to achieve? As I mentioned before, we had previously 2 zones in downtown. One is a CBD, Central Business District. Second one is a DRG revitalization zone. There were a lot of mention and cost reference in the zoning district, in the zoning regulations for CBD and DRG. We are deleting all of them and taking all the sections that are not relevant because they don't exist anymore. What else are we doing? We missed during the zoning amendment for the new TOD to include vet clinics and hospitals that don't have overnight stay. So we're including them in this amendment. What else are we trying to achieve? I mentioned this before, but I'm going to go over it again. As advised and recommended by our Corporation Council, there are some sections that talks about buffer between residential uses and commercial uses, and it doesn't say within the city. That's why there was a challenge lately. Somebody, a lawyer, I mean, said, well, it should apply even outside the city because you are not saying within the city. So what we are doing is we're adding within or in or outside to make sure we're only talking about the city of Danbury. One correction of oversights that we have is there was an oversight in the TOD. There was a mention of 10 feet setback, sorry, mention of 20 feet setback, and it should have been 10 feet. That was, I believe, quick overview. However, it covered all the details. And it is all what we're trying to achieve is in line with policy number 6 of the POCD, which really emphasizes the need for amendment to make sure that the regulations are up to date and they are actually responsive to market conditions which keep changing. With that, I believe I covered all the main highlights in the proposal. I'm happy to answer any question.
Thank you. Before you get out of that, can you go to page 5 for me, please?
Sure.
All right, right there. Adding vet hospitals, clinics, and grooming as permitted use. You mean veterinarian hospitals?
Yes.
Okay. The crematory, is that a state law that we're?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay. So that the change we're making is because of the state.
So let me go back here to this one.
There it is.
Back in the days, cremation was only incineration or combustion.
Right.
Now they changed it to include water, which they call it alkaline hydrolysis or any chemicals. It doesn't have to be combustion.
Okay. But that was because the state is mandated.
state.
Okay. All right. I get a couple more questions, but I guess we'll wait for the rest of the commissioners. So if we could, yeah, there you go. I see some hands. So let me go. Director, are you done? Can I go on to some questions? Thank Commissioner O'Neill.
I had a question about when you say the city of Danbury and within it, like, is there a definition for the city of Danbury? Is it all of Danbury, or it's not just downtown Danbury? Or I guess I just wanted clarification on what that meant.
Director, that would mean every zip code in Danbury, all 4 walls and within.
Okay, thank you.
And when we say that, we always refer to the map of the city, that all the it's not just about downtown. Like we have so many different other zoning districts. What happened lately is, say, for example, and I'm just giving an example, you have a piece of land that is on the border of the city on a different community. What sometimes you will say, well, if this is a business or a commercial entity, you have to have X number of buffer between you and any residential zone. Sometimes the ones living outside of the city will say, hey, that applies to me too. So if there's like 50 feet buffer that should apply to my house, which is outside the city of Danbury as well. However, we as a city only have mandate within our jurisdiction, which is the city. Does this make any sense?
I think so.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Neill, you good? You all set? Commissioner Botello?
Yes, well, Lee, thank you for being able to speak. I'd like just want to go over what you were talking about with the smoke shops, vape shops, and if I get it right, you're saying that the existing places are grandfathered, but there's so many issues going on. They're runaway. I mean, the initial intention of what they were and what they are now is not what we bargained for as a community. So what's going to happen? Like, you're going to be grandfathering these situations that are out of control, or what's going to happen between you and the legal side of it? Is that, hopefully I'm clear enough to know that there's issues. There's a lot of issues with these vape shops, and they were brought in for one situation, and it's changed and it's been diversified, not for the good. And so you're telling me that they are going to be grandfathered as they are, and that's going to be a continuing problem we have to live with?
Well, Director, Commissioner Botello, I think there's two issues here. Number one is, what do we do from today forward on controlling it? And that's what this petition, or this petition's looking to address. The other one is what's going on with the ones that exist now. And unfortunately, as I was talking to the director about, is sometimes the world evolves without us. And that was a situation that got legs, got up, started walking around. And next thing you know, there's way too many of them causing troubles, in my opinion. And we had to find out a way to control it from this point forward. Regarding what exists, they're pre-existing non-conforming. They're going to be grandfathered in. If any of them go out of business for a certain point of time, I think 6 months or so, if they are out of business, then they lose that right. So there'll be one less on the board. But once we get past this today, there's a whole nother issue as to what do we do about the existing ones. I think right now we want to just try and control any more from coming into the area if this commission sees.
But my bigger question is that did these people come to the zoning commission for a couple of years ago, that brought to you and said, we're going to go into this business?
No,
And
because
are
it was just a new business. They had no definition. They're a business like any other business. The smoke shops operate as a business like somebody would open up a store selling crayons and artwork. It's just
Okay.
it's a business.
So they never came in for a special exception. They never came into the zoning commission saying, we want to do this. Okay. So
there was never a definition for it. Which I think is step 2, which I don't know if it maybe the director can talk about it, maybe not, maybe it's not worth it, but there might be a step 2 on this if this is approved tonight, and that is to then let's say we have a definition of smoke shops. It might be prudent for us to look at how to regulate them, just like liquor stores are. Perhaps you can't be located within 1,000 feet of each other, or a residential district, or a church, school, charitable institution, or convent, or only in a commercial zone. That's at another date. But for now, what the language that's in here will stop any more from attempting to open up. And then we got a lot of work to do. In my opinion, a lot of work to do about what's existing out there. Director, did I step on anybody's toes? Was I partially correct? Where was I on this?
Absolutely correct. So one thing to add here, when you were talking about existing, again, I cannot say smoke shop because we never had a smoke shop kind of definition. Whatever is existing that sells mainly different types of smoke, from a zoning perspective, yes, we cannot do much. They can continue. However, our police department and the state are looking into the ones that committed illegal crimes, not each of them. So as far as I know, we have about 15 different businesses that would qualify as a smoke shop. The ones that were actually part of the investigation, as far as I know, were 4. So those 4, in terms of how to deal with it, that will be police and the state. The other 11 that are just selling whatever tobacco products as any other business, they can continue as they are. However, they cannot expand. So that's a big condition. Once they become legally non-conforming, assuming the zoning commission is to adopt the new definition, they can continue, but they cannot make big changes, or they cannot expand.
Thank you. Commissioner Botelli, a pre-existing non-conforming use cannot expand regardless. So it'd be useful to have the definitions apply to that with these regulations. But there's it's a little complicated and there's a few moving parts here, but things are in the works to try and fix something that just really took off and got away from everybody. And I think there's some other communities that I saw had some regulations in place. A lot of them did not, that face the same circumstance as we did up till tonight. Commissioner Nejane.
You got me, Ted?
There you go. You're good. Thank you.
Thank you. This is for Waleed. In regard to the retaining wall having no setbacks, did I hear that correctly or read that correctly? To Waleed?
Yes, that's correct.
So you, Mr. Chairman, yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Now, the question I have is, I know there's a zoning regulation regarding not being able to change the grade between property lines within 5 feet.
Excavate.
Is that excavate?
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no regulation with the wall, how do you if there's no setback regulation with the wall, but there's a regulation to deny somebody to excavate within 5 foot of the property line, it's kind of conflicted, isn't it?
Daily, but I will explain why if you are done with the question.
I believe I am. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, Director.
Okay, so you, Mr. Chairman. So what is actually this does is to make sure that you can put it anywhere. However, any application that has a retaining wall has to be reviewed by engineering. So engineering would actually decide between our engineering department and the applicant engineer, if needed, where is the best location to put it. So we would like to keep this flexibility if it's needed. But again, it's not that anyone would like to have a retaining wall can say, well, I can have one. It's based of the need and the slope of the land.
But Waleed, I think I'll have to correct you on that. And the reason is because my understanding, unless I'm wrong, any retaining wall 3 feet or lower does not need a engineered approval. Am I correct or incorrect on that?
Well, if it doesn't need engineering, then the building department will actually review it. So it's between the two.
Okay.
So one of the two will have to review it and they coordinate among each other.
But again, going back to, no excavating within 5 feet of a property line. The reason why I asked, I had a neighbor on one of my property lines that put a wall up maybe 2.5 feet high. And he ended up having to go through, a zoning variance application. He already did it unknowingly, et cetera, whatever. It took a lot of time for the commission, a lot of expense for for my neighbor. And I just found it, pretty troublesome for such a minor issue. So again, if you put a retaining wall within, when you say you can't dig within that 5 foot area, you just can't dig it, or you can't change the grade. I don't really understand the definition.
Okay. To be honest with you, I don't want to get into more specific one. You had a specific kind of application. I don't know if it was actually for a retaining wall or it was considered something else. I have to look into it because
Yeah, it was a very small retaining wall.
okay, I will tell you why.
I thought it was a very burdensome thing for the homeowner, and I believe this happens an awful lot, maybe noticed and many times unnoticed. But again, I just wanted clarification on that scenario. No setbacks with the retaining wall.
Okay, so I need to know the specific in order to give you a clear answer. Here's what I know. There was a lot of discussion between zoning enforcement, corporation council, and planning. They never asked for a setback before for a retaining wall. So I don't know what variance you would need for a retaining wall because they never considered it to be a structure. That's what I was told. That's what we have in our minutes. I mean, the discussion between corporation council, planning, and zoning enforcement. As you know, zoning enforcement are the one who work on variances, no planning. So I don't know what the application for the variance was actually for. If you like, we can follow up and I can actually get more info.
Okay. Yeah, at some point I'd like to just because it makes to me, it's a very burdensome, troublesome regulation for, the city of Danbury homeowners.
Okay.
Many times, in particular, putting a swimming pool in, you've got to adjust the grade accordingly because you got to have the pool level, and it's a very minor scenario, but lots are limited.
Okay.
And to have that restriction is very troublesome for the homeowner. And I understand we're trying to protect the city, but the reality is I think we're solving one problem but creating another. So just my thought.
Thank you.
Good point. And as you know, a lot of what we are doing, we are trying to make it more simple as much as we can. There are some, I would say, outdated provisions we have in our zoning regulations. We work at it one at a time.
I got to.
I think in discussing it with Sean, it was something happened in the city where there was some property disturbance with a retaining wall. And, basically, I don't think the liability should be, on the city. It should be a civil matter between the two landowners. But, it's just my view. It's a very troublesome regulation when you go to build, particularly on a small lot. So I just wanted to give you my 2 cents.
Director on mute.
Good point, and I hear what you are talking about, and I know there are a lot of outdated provisions we have in our zoning regulations. I'm not sure about the one you are trying to explain, but we are working on some now, and in the future we'll work on some more. However, just to give you a clear idea of what we do, before we move forward, we have to talk to each department because sometimes very specific departments are in the know about what they deal with regularly. So what you mentioned, if you like, you can follow up with me. We can discuss it. I would like to know more.
Very good. Thank you.
Director and Commissioner James, stay there with your mic open. We've got to clarify an issue before we go any further. I want to make sure that this commission, the director said he will look into it. This commission is not looking for anything on this petition this evening. You're talking about a separate matter, so there are no exhibits or anything to follow or should be expected by this commission this evening.
Absolutely, that's what I meant.
Agreed with
Thanks
both?
for clarifying.
Good. Okay, great.
Understood.
Thank you. Commissioner Bennett, you had your hand raised earlier?
Just a quick comment. I did put in an application in for a cannabis outlet, and how it went was so easy. It was like getting a gun permit. Once it became legal, the gates opened in Connecticut, and if you had an application in, you got that approved. It was that easy.
For the record, that was something the state shoved down our throats, and for the record, I was opposed to it. Fighting the state in my own little tiny insignificant way, which I will continue to do. And anything else that gets shoved down my throat from Hartford.
Well, how about
Put the handcuffs on me.
how about 5,002? Is that the number?
No, we're fighting hard on that one.
I hope.
I am anyway. Where are we anyway? Where are we on this petition? Oh, okay.
In favor. You're still in favor.
In favor. Thank you. Any other questions of the director? Attorney Beecher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to speak in favor. My name's Tom Beecher. I'm an attorney with the Collins Hannafin Law Firm. And I'm always in favor of a fresh look at regulations and combing through them and clarifying certain regulations and cleaning things up and creating consistency. So I applaud the effort that you're seeing here tonight. I wanted to speak about one particular provision, which Waleed covered, which is the current downtown TOD zone has the 20-foot setback, and he's proposing to move that to 10 feet. The old CBD zone did not have a 20-foot setback from the residential districts that surrounded the CBD. And by going to 20 feet currently, you are probably rendering a number of properties in the DTOD non-conforming with their buildings, because a lot of lots in the TOD are small, and there are buildings in various sections of the TOD that are within 20 feet of the neighboring residential district. So by making this change, you're avoiding rendering a lot of buildings in the TOD non-conforming. And you might say, well, that's okay, they're grandfathered in. Well, it's not okay if they want to do an alteration to that particular building or a small addition to that particular building. They wouldn't be allowed to do so. So I support the change from the 20 feet to the 10, and I support these set of amendments which seek to clarify and redefine and make things a little bit clearer and a little bit cleaner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Also, Attorney Beecher, in my opinion, I've seen where not only it would prevent them from doing any alterations, but sometimes it gets in the way of refinancing. Lenders don't like that. So good points on that.
That's correct. And by the way, I also agree with you wholeheartedly that in this day and age, legal notices should just be on the municipal website, and that's it. And that would save applicants and the city a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been, like I said, I've been working on that for years, but it's up in Hartford right now, and I think we're close, but they've said,
well, it's been there. It's been looked at a number of times over the last several years, because I made contact with, on behalf of the town of Brookfield, I'm their town attorney, with those particular representatives. And I suspect there must be a good newspaper lobby in Hartford, because it's never gotten passed.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I know. I agree with you. It's crazy. I mean, we are so Star Trek on so many other things,
but
right?
Not advertising.
Not that. Anyway, still loving them newspapers. Some people are. Councilman Rotello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In rebuttal, I'm all over that newspaper on a daily basis. I have a pile of them on my couch. And one of the first things I do is go to section B and look at all the legal notices. So I find them helpful. I understand most people don't read them.
I know.
The latest circulation figures or something, they're printing like 5,000 or 6,000 copies a day, which is, in a metro area of 1 million people. It's a rounding error, but some people still read them.
Councilman, when I got the newspaper, the first thing I did was went to the legal notices too.
Go to the legal notices.
And then I went to the comics.
Yeah, right.
And the crossword puzzles were just way a little ahead, over my head.
And they keep the comics. There used to be a couple of pages. They just keep whittling them down. But I get the current too, so I get to read the rest of the comments in the comics in the current. And then we're talking about pop. Okay, Paul Rotello for the record, 13 Linden Place, Danbury. I agree with. I have read the actual changes. Director Al-Bakri, if I could just make one friendly comment. The next time you submit the changes, what you did was you struck out entire paragraphs and rewrote the new paragraph underneath. And in general, the only change was the name of the zone from whatever it was to the transit-oriented district or whatever we're calling it now. If in the future you could just strike out the actual language within the paragraph and replace that with red, then we would know as we read the paragraph what the actual change would be within the paragraph, instead of reading a paragraph up here and then looking back down and trying to merge the two. It would just make it quicker. I got through the whole thing and it was good. But on the council anyway, I'm not holding the council up as a paragon of how to do things properly, but that's kind of what we're used to, and I find that pretty effective. So a couple of things. The first thing is thank you very much for the definition on a hotel and motel. Commissioner Haddad and people who were here a couple of years ago can fill you in on what we went through with attorneys for petitioners on definitions of what could actually be put into a motel, which as far as they were concerned was no different than a shelter, and there was a lot of pushback. They lost the case. But by having these definitions, which we did not have a couple of years ago, you will save us immeasurable angst going forward should this happen again. So I certainly support that change. I did have one question, and I'll direct this to the chair. I don't want an answer immediately. This is just a question. I'm gonna give you the question and then continue with my comments. I just want to get the question out of the way so I don't forget it. Under section 8A3, erosion and sedimentation control permits. I'm sorry, I don't have a page number. It says permit application and application obtained from the planning department shall be completed and submitted for each erosion and sedimentation control permit. It's struck out, and I didn't see the new language, so I don't know what that means. Do people not? It can't possibly mean people do not need permits. Well, maybe it could, I suppose. People don't need permits for sedimentation and erosion control, but I would, since it's clearly being changed, I was just curious as to what it's being changed into. And then finally, you had some new language about parking, which again was not necessarily new language. You were just clarifying that it applies to this the newly named zone, and under 5002, which everybody is talking about, there isn't going to be any parking regulations for transit-oriented districts. And I'm just wondering if we were going to wind up by trying to become compliant tonight, non-compliant tomorrow night. One can only hope, right? Should this thing just keep going? And by the way, the notices came out today. The bill notices came out today, and 5002 is still not on the notice, so it's still in play. So that's it. Thank you for this. I'm in favor for the most part. I understand we're trying to align our definitions with state definitions. Thank you again for the new definition for the hotels. As far as vape shops are concerned, very tricky business. We did the thing with Commissioner Bennett. I talked about applying for a cannabis license, and Commissioner Haddad, Chairman Haddad, spoke against. I happen to be on the Cannabis Commission, pushing for licensing them in Danbury for myriad reasons, and I think it's so far been successful. We are obviously out of compliance with federal law, but the interesting thing about the vape shops, under a 2017 law with hemp, they may actually, for some of these things that the state considers to be illegal, the federal government may consider to be legal. So this is a very tricky situation with the vape shops that we're calling smoke shops. I obviously want to contain them, and I want them to be compliant. But it is going to be something that there's going to be a lot of litigation on this. That's it. Thank you very much. And if you could answer that question about the erosion control, I'd appreciate it, through the chair, of course. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Director, did you want to address that on the erosion control?
Yes, thank you. Well, there are lots of questions. I will touch on the sediment one. Yes, we are deleting it. It used to be in the zoning regulation. However, there was never an application for sediment control. It's part of the site plan application, and somehow nobody actually deleted it over many years. What we are doing is we are just cleaning it up because we don't have such an application.
Thank
The
you.
other one, which was about parking. Yes, I totally understand changes are happening. However, this project was set in motion a long time ago. And we hope if there are any changes from the state, they usually give a time to comply. Usually they don't say you have to comply now. Sometimes they give 2 years, sometimes they give a year. So once we have more clarity, we will figure out what to do.
Thank you. Commission members, the hotel petition that Councilman Rotella was talking about, yes, these new regulations, the definitions of hotel, motel come in very useful. Hotel. But this commission, that last petition, they did get denied. And this zoning commission that you serve on, won the case in court. So we got sued and we won. And, we did a good job on our, that's why public presentations and dot the i's and cross the t's are so critical, because sometimes things do go to court. I think this commission is the last bunch of lawsuits against us. We won. So, that's good. Director, comments?
So you, Mr. Chairman, I would like to extend my gratitude to you and the chair of the Planning Commission. A lot of the stuff I know about, I mean, what happened in the past is so the chair of the Zoning Commission or the chair of the Planning Commission, and we try to have a plan for how to deal with future potential issues. Of course, we cannot do all of it at once, but we are trying to be very strategic to do the most important first, and others will follow, but not immediately.
No, thank you very much. Chairman Finaldi and I were, we're jumping up and down in anger over that, or anxiousness, I should say, about this hotel thing. And you took the ball and ran with it, and we appreciate it. So thank you for listening to us on what we felt was important to the city and what some of the citizens were looking for out of us. So thank you too. Anything else, commission members of the director? Director, you still have any comments? Director, you good for now?
For now, I'm good. I just would like to
Okay.
mention that, as you know, and some of you might know, there are a lot of work to be done. We are trying to accommodate all what we receive from you, from the public, and we try to work it out into our schedule as well. So some of it you might see happening quickly, some of it might be within 1 year, but we are working on a lot of things now.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yes, excellent. And there are a lot of things in the hopper, which I do appreciate. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Commission members, any final questions of the director? Commission members, director, do you have any final comments? As we confirmed earlier, we're not waiting for any more exhibits or information on this petition. Any closing comments, director?
No, I'm good. It's just the same point again. You will see a lot of projects being initiated, and I appreciate all your support, guys. And again, as mentioned in many meetings, if you have ideas you would like to explore, my door is always open. I would be happy to discuss. And if it's something we can do, I will try to somehow fit it into one of the projects. If something we cannot do, I will be honest and candid, and I will say why.
Thank you. If you would just please give me 1 second. I want to see if I have any more notes or any questions that I have for you on this. Got that. I'm good. Okay. Commission members, anyone wishing to make a motion to close this Commissioner Botello? Commissioner Botello, unmute.
Sorry, Commissioner, I'd like to make a motion to close this hearing.
Thank you. There's a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Botello, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Nejam. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much. Commissioner Botello. Do you want to you were making a motion to move this to number 2 under old business for discussion?
Yes,
possible
I
action?
would like to make a motion to move it to old business for discussion and possible action for tonight.
Thank you. Commission members, is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner James. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed. Give me 1 second. Let me move to number 2. Under old business for discussion possible action. Housekeeping. Thank you. Commission members, we do not have any, I got it there. Nothing under the continuation of any public hearings. We don't have any new business, no correspondence. Under old business for discussion and possible action is a petition of Walid Al-Bakri, Planning Director, on the fee schedule petition. The public hearing was opened on June 10th, 2025, and it was closed on June 10th, 2025. If anybody desires to make a motion, we would look to have the effective date immediately. And of course, if anybody wants to make a motion, it should include the fact that the proposed amendments is consistent with the proposed amendments of planning, conservation, development. The zoning commission must determine that such amendments will not adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. Commission members, Commissioner Botello.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to give a positive recommendation for the following reasons. That the proposed amendments would comply with the plan of conservation and development by insurance compliance with the state laws and promote the establishment of what we need to do for tonight. Secondly, is that the proposed zoning amendments are strategically aligned with the objectives outlined in the Plan and Conservation PLCD, reinforcing the City of Danbury's commitment to sustainable urban growth, economic adaptability, and proactive planning. By implementing these changes, the City of Danbury will strengthen its zoning framework, support responsible urban development, enhance regulatory clarity. I should also ask that we should adopt this effectively immediately tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Botello.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner, I was going to say there's a motion made by Commissioner Botello with reasons, seconded by Commissioner Nejane. Commission members, is there any discussion on this? Commission members, any discussion? A yes is yes, a no is no. Commissioner Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Botello,
Yes.
Commissioner Nejane,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Nazario,
Yes.
Commissioner Villacrez,
Yes.
Commissioner Cabrera.
Yes.
And I will make it unanimous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 voting eligible, and the vote is 9-0. Thank you very much. So let's go to number 2 under old business for discussion possible action, and that is the petition of Walid Al-Bakri, and we're referring to it as the housekeeping petition, but it's the lengthy one that was read under the legal notice. Commission members, what's your pleasure on this petition? Oops, let me get it out here. Commissioner Botello.
If no one else wants to make a proposal, I'd like to make a petition to give a positive recommendation for the following reasons. The proposed zoning amendments are strategically aligned with the objectives outlined in the plan, the POCD, reinforcing the City of Danbury's commitment to sustainable urban growth, economic adaptability, and proactive planning. I want to add that there is these amendments will have no adverse effect in health, safety, and welfare of the general public, and that by implementing these changes, the City of Danbury will strengthen its zoning framework and support reasonable urban development, enhance regulatory clarity.
And the effect.
And I want to mention that we would like to have this become effective immediately and be accepted tonight.
Thank you. Commission members, there's a motion by Commissioner Botello with reasons. Is there a second? Commission members looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner O'Neill. Commission members, any discussion on this? Any discussion on the motion or its reasons? Any discussion? Not hearing any discussion, we're gonna go with a vote. Commissioner Botello, by the way, a yes is yes, a no is no. Commissioner Botello,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Yes.
Commissioner Cabrera,
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes? Commissioner Cabrera? Did she
She
say?
said yes before
Yes.
she was cut off.
Oh,
Yes.
thank
Sorry.
you. Thank you. Commissioner Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Villacrest,
Yes.
Commissioner Nazario,
Yes.
Commissioner Nejim,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did I get everybody? I got everybody, right? Nothing. Thank you, commission members. Additionally, director, thank you. They were very detailed, very in-depth. A lot of work went into these things, which is always appreciated by not only this commission, but the public, and we appreciate that. I always used to tease the other planning directors, Ms. Calitro and Dennis Alpern, that if you could say something in one page, say it instead of doing 9 or 10 or 12. But I was wrong. I was wrong, and they told me I was wrong. But let me ask you one simple question: your housekeeping petition, is that going to make our regulations just a couple pages smaller, or no big deal?
Smaller.
A couple web pages shorter, or what?
I have a good news for you. We're looking into joining Municipal Code Online. I don't know if you have used it before.
No.
So it's kind of a platform that makes searching for any kind of provision very easy. The city already has it for the Code of Ordinance.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about how big or small the zoning regulations are. You just search for anything and it gives you all of it. So that would be very easy.
Sounds good. Hey, Ms. Reed, you remember when we had the meetings in person, we would lug all of our stuff to every single meeting. We'd have we'd have our bylaws, we'd have our charter, we'd have the regulations, we'd have our maps. Technology, right?
Those were the
Okay.
days.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love it.
For reference only, there's a petition of Blazius Enterprises, Sawmill Road, A15004 for change of zone from IL 40 and PND to RMF 6. Public hearing scheduled for July 8th, 2025. And we are not going to have a June 24th meeting. Is that correct? And we're past the date for anything to come before us. So there is no meeting on June 24th. So we do have a meeting on July 8th, and we'll have something else on July 22nd. Now's the time for other matters. Are there any other matters? Any other matters? Is there anything anybody wants to speak about that's outside this agenda? We're good, I think. Am I forgetting anything, Director? Am I forgetting anything, Ms. Reed?
No, we're good.
We're good. Thank you.
Thanks.
8:56. Who wants the honor of Commissioner Villacrest? Do you want to make a motion to adjourn at 8:56? Yes, she is. She made the motion to adjourn. Who wants to second that? Commissioner James.
I'll second it.
Whatever.
And we have another second from Commissioner Bennett. Everybody wants to leave. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:57. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Wally.
you.
Good night, Joanne.
Good night.
Thank you,
Bye.
Director.
Bye.
Thank you, Director Waleed.
Thank
Ms.
you,
Reed,
Director.
thank you very much, Joanne. Thanks for everything. Good work.
Always.
Where's leave the meeting button?